Once upon a time, in a cozy little house, lived a family of 3 generations: a grandfather, his son and daughter-in-law, and their young child. The grandfather was very old. His hands trembled, his eyes were blurry, and his steps were unsteady. Every time he sat at the dinner table, he struggled. Sometimes he'd spill soup on the tablecloth. Other times, food would fall from his spoon as he tried to bring it to his mouth. His son and daughter-in-law grew increasingly frustrated with this. They'd sigh heavily and exchange annoyed glances whenever the old man made a mess. "He's making everything so dirty," the daughter-in-law would whisper to her husband. "And he's wasting food. We can't keep cleaning up after him like this." They felt their patience wearing thin. One evening, after the grandfather accidentally dropped a ceramic bowl, which shattered on the floor, they decided they'd had enough. "That's it," the son declared. "Starting tomorrow, he'll eat in the corner by the fireplace. That way, he won't disturb us or make a mess at the main table." His wife agreed immediately. To make sure he wouldn't break any more dishes, they bought him a cheap wooden bowl. It was rough and plain, a stark contrast to the fine porcelain the rest of the family used. So, the next day, the old grandfather was moved to a small stool in the corner of the room. He was served his meager portion of food in the wooden bowl. He sat there, all alone, while his family enjoyed their meal at the big table, laughing and talking as if he wasn't even there. The grandfather's eyes would fill with tears of sadness and loneliness, but he never said a word. He didn't want to cause any more trouble. He would just eat his food in silence, his heart heavy with grief. All of this was watched by the youngest member of the family, the couple's 4-year-old son. He saw his grandfather sitting alone in the corner every single day. He saw the tears glistening in the old man's eyes and the sad, lonely expression on his face. He didn't understand everything, but he knew something was deeply wrong. He felt a profound sympathy for his grandpa, and a seed of an idea began to grow in his young mind. A few days later, the father noticed his little boy sitting on the floor, intensely focused on a small block of wood. He had a little carving tool in his hand and was carefully chipping away at the wood. Sawdust was scattered all around him. The father watched him for a moment. His curiosity piqued. He walked over and knelt beside his son. "What are you making there, my boy?" he asked, gently, ruffling the child's hair. The little boy didn't look up from his work. He continued to carve with great concentration. "I'm making a bowl," he replied in his small, innocent voice. The father smiled. "A bowl? That's nice. Who is it for?" he asked, expecting his son to say it was for playing with his toys or for a make-believe kitchen. The boy finally paused and looked up at his father, his eyes clear and serious. "Oh," he said softly, "I'm making a wooden bowl for you and Mommy." The father was a little confused. "For us? But we have plenty of bowls." The boy nodded. "I know. This is for when you and Mommy get old, like Grandpa." He pointed with his little tool towards the corner where the grandfather usually sat. "When you get old, I'm going to feed you from this wooden bowl, and I'll make you sit over there in the corner, just like you do with Grandpa now." The child's words, spoken with such simple, matter-of-fact innocence, struck the father like a bolt of lightning. He felt a sudden, sharp pain in his chest, and his face turned pale. He stood up and stumbled back, looking at his son, then at the empty corner, and then at his own hands. The reality of his actions crashed down on him with overwhelming force. He and his wife had been so cruel, so disrespectful to their own father, and their child had seen it all. He was learning from their example, preparing to treat them the same way they were treating the grandfather. Shame and regret washed over him. Tears welled up in his eyes as he finally understood the depth of his mistake. He quickly went to find his wife and told her what their son had said. When she heard the story, she burst into tears as well. They held each other, their hearts filled with remorse. They realized they had been teaching their son a terrible lesson about how to treat one's elders, a lesson in cruelty and disrespect. They saw their own future reflected in their son's innocent project, lonely. Sad existence in a corner, eating from a wooden bowl. That very evening, everything changed. The father went to the corner, gently took his own father's arm, and led him back to the family dinner table. He seated the old man in the most comfortable chair. From that day forward, the grandfather always ate with the family. The son and daughter-in-law were patient and kind. If he spilled a little food, they would clean it up without a word of complaint. They treated him with the love, dignity, and respect he deserved. They had learned the most valuable lesson of their lives, not from a book or a lecture, but from the simple, honest words of their own child. The little wooden bowl was put away, but it served as a constant reminder of the profound truth they had almost forgotten. What you give to your parents, you will one day receive from your children. The family was whole again, bound not just by blood, but by a newfound understanding of compassion and filial love. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to treat your elders with the kindness and respect they deserve. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. We'll see you in the next video.